one thing that as a big word for mine is be intentionality, and it's being able to look at your content, looking at your visibility, and ask yourself, what is the goals that I'm trying to create with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coach Tribe. Together, we will witness today the extraordinary Carrie. She is known for blending her professional training and humanistic psychology, her gift for brand strategy, and her insights into brand archetypes to help impact driven entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, and influencers build deep heart connections with their ideal customers. Hello, Carrie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am thrilled to have you over, and I cannot wait to just pick your brain on so many different aspects that I know you're so good at.
No,
Um,
I'm really excited.
yeah, and I wanted to ask you, why should our guests listen to this episode today?
So I know that one of the biggest things around putting yourself out there, getting the clients that you want, it play a huge part plays into brand awareness, aka visibility. So for me, I know that this is like that foundations that you have to truly be able to build the business that you want.
Okay, got you. Well, I guess getting the core principles, the foundation right, is definitely an important element that we all want to incorporate in our businesses. Would you like to tell our listeners anything else about you, your background, anything they should know about you?
Yeah, so of course my name is Carrie Thomas tomorrow. I I've been coined the visibility alchemist. So of course I have a degree in humanistic psychology, and then I've worked in corporate. I was worked in corporate. Actually worked for Subway corporate, helping franchisees increase their visibility and profitability because if it like especially with subways, there's literally it's the biggest franchise in the world. So a lot of times what was happening is they were like, well, how could I distinguish my subway? How could I make sure that people come here rather than the 1-2 blocks away? So we actually helped them increase their visibility. And then a lot of my restaurants had ticket averages higher than national and even international standards. So this is something that visibility is something that I'm extremely passionate about, and the reason why I'm passionate about it because I understand that once you crack the code to visibility, everything else falls into play.
Gotcha. Well, definitely makes sense. Now, I would say let's start by defining visibility, right? There are so many definitions around it. And I would like to ask you, Carrie, what is visibility?
Yeah, so I like to first explain it. When you think about business, there's two things that you think about. You're like, okay, I'm in business now. There's two things. I need people to know who I am and I need to be able to make sales. But the cool, crazy part about it is people first have to know who you are before you make sales. So that's really what visibility is that presence of where people understand, see you, and know you. And there's four facets that I really focus on when it comes to visibility, which is online presence, which is like social media, things like that. The second one is strategic partners, and that is where you have people in your role that you use to be able to amplify your voice outside to new audiences. The next one is what I called speaking in media, where you're like podcasts, things like what I'm doing right now, which is going to increase my people being able to see me tapping into new audience. And the last one is I call new and old school PR. And the new and old school PR is really where you use like media, but then also Facebook groups and things like that, because those are the places where people are trying to figure out like, hey, who is this person? Like, why did they get tagged in this post? Let me go check them out. The same way you would say, why did this person get featured in this article? So that's kind of where I call that new school, old school PR.
Gotcha. Well, I love this sort of four pillars that you align because this makes for a very good structure for our episode today. But before we get into each of these pillars, I would love to know from you, the expert in visibility, the alchemist, why are people scared of visibility, or why does this term carry so much anxiety, especially for coaches?
Yeah, so the thing is, humans and like one of the fundamentals of humans is to be accepted. Like humans want to be accepted. So when you go out into a space where you don't know that you're going to be accepted is scary. Think about when you were a little kid, like when you went to your first day of school and you hoped that you would make a friend that first day. That's the same thing when it comes to visibility. You're hoping that somebody sees you and understands you and gets your message and resonates with it. So that idea of that is very complexing for a lot of people. They're like, oh my gosh, like what if they don't like it? What if they judge me? What if they don't think I look good? Or all of these what I call internal dialogues start happening around the fears around visibility. So I feel like it's I always tell people being scared is natural. But the thing is, you have to be able, what I call, to overcome those fears. And that's really where I say where the magic happens. Because for me, like I tell people, like I still get scared sometimes. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I'll go and I'll do it. But it's still that fear because every human has that innate piece of wanting to be accepted, wanting to be a part of something.
Okay, and you touched on something that might be of big interest to us there, Carrie. You said that we need to overcome this fear. So then my question to you is, how do we overcome this fear when it comes to visibility?
Yeah, so I always say there's two main ways to truly overcome your fear around visibility. The first way is to attach yourself to the impact that you want to make. So you remember just a little while ago I said that a lot of the reasons why we're scared of visibility is our own internal stuff. Our own ideas and our own reasons that stop us from taking action. But the moment that we can be able to look at it in terms of what does our visibility do for other people? How does that make other people feel? How does that activate other people? Then that fear now becomes, well, I have to do it because if I don't do it, this will happen. So now it's more of looking at my the impact that I want to make is way more important than my internal fears and my internal dialogue.
Mm, okay, so what is something, even something specific that we can actually do? Okay, this is, I guess, a change of in mindset what you're trying to say, but how can we get to this change in mindset? What are
Yeah, so
some
that so they always tell people there's two questions that you want to ask yourself. The first question is what is the true impact that you want to make? And I always like to say unselfishly. So for me, it's like I want to inspire and motivate people to see what's possible when they step into their power and step into their light. So I know that if I'm not talking about it, they're never going to feel comfortable stepping into their power and step into their light because they're looking at me as a beacon of, oh, this is what this looks like. So if I'm not there, how can I inspire them to see that? And the second one is when you understand your people. I always say, like, who is the people that you truly want to serve? And understanding the people that you truly want to serve, yes, it helps with your offers, but it also helps with your visibility because you then understand what are their fears themselves around visibility. What is stopping them from taking action? So understanding those two will give you that piece of like, well, I need to do these things because if I don't do these things, I can't make the impact. I can't create the impact that I want to make, and I can't help the people that I want to serve.
Okay, this makes sense, and I think I'm gonna ask those questions myself. So thank you so thank you so
Yeah.
much for putting those out there. I just wanted to make it clear for all of those who are listening to us right now. Why is visibility so important? Why there is such a big emphasis that we are putting on visibility, especially in the late, how to say, the last 2 years? I feel like everywhere I look, there is a huge discussion around visibility. So why is visibility so important?
So have you ever heard the saying that if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around, does it make a sound?
It makes or it doesn't make a sound?
Or it's a question, does it? Like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around, does it make a sound?
Wow. Well, I have not heard this saying, but it's interesting. I would say yes, but then how would anyone hear it, right?
Exactly. And that's what visibility does. Because you could have an amazing offer. You could be really having creating some amazing impact and shifts in people's lives. But if no one ever is around to see it or hear it or you talk about it, it doesn't do anything. It's like the tree in the woods. It's like it probably did make a sound, but nobody heard it. So that's why visibility is so important because there's no more the world of I'll build it and they'll come, because they won't come because there's so many other people fighting for their attention. So you have to be able to put yourself out there so they can come and see the gifts and the magic that you're putting out into the world.
Well, that really makes sense, and I think this will stick to me. It's a very nice analogy that you made over there.
The Code Tribe podcast is powered by Pensight. I want to take this opportunity to tell you more about Pensight and how much value it can provide you and your coaching business.
Pensight is an all-in-one platform for coaches and educators that enables you to quickly and easily build a highly credible page and sell your knowledge with one-to-one sessions, group coaching, courses, Q&As, digital products, and bundles. Payments, scheduling, video calling, client communications, and everything else is taken care of.
All it takes is 5 minutes to set up and it's free. It's the smartest way to kickstart your coaching business. Sign up to Pensight today at pensight.com.
Now, okay, we understand that visibility is important. Can we just run ads to bring traffic?
So the thing is, like, pre-COVID, yes. Pre-COVID, yes, it worked. People were super successful with it. But the thing about what happened during COVID is people started to now do research. So a lot of times what we see is we have clients that they'll run ads and they'll be like, "Here, I'm just running ads," and they'll go run ads. They're like, "Nothing's happening." And I'm like, because when they search for you, nothing is connecting and saying, "Oh, this person is legit. Oh, this person has their stuff together." Because they haven't been doing what I call like the organic content. Ads are supposed to be realistically, and what it was made for was an amplification of what you're already doing, not a be all the end all. And it's great. What I was saying, like, COVID helped it because people realize, oh, I need to see what this person is like. Do I like this person? Because guess what? There's 50 people doing the same, 50 plus people doing the same thing that you're doing. So now they're not no longer looking at what's your service, what's your results, but more as who is this person? Do I like them? Is there somebody that I can see myself working with? So showing those other pieces of content around yourself is why ads are not just enough anymore. Ads should be an amplification of your genius, not the center stage of it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely makes sense, but it does make me think that if, people want even more and expect even more and clients have higher asks from coaches, then how can we keep up with everything, and how can we still give this client everything they need in order to make that choice?
Yeah, so there's this thing that I have. I call it the humanistic content strategy. And what it does is it's 5 different types of content that you use to be able to, what I say, create a titanium connection between you and your clients. Because now, post COVID, people are asking more questions. People are trying to understand who you are, what's your expertise, why do you like it, or do you have testimonials, what is your heart? So with the humanistic content strategy, the first pillar is what I call strategic content. And strategic content, of course, is where you get to show how smart you are. You get to show your expertise, your frameworks, your thought processes. The next piece parallel to that is going to be what I call resourceful content. And this content literally is only created to create what I call micro quick wins and micro yeses to bring them closer and closer into your world. The next one is what I call heart content. And this content is really where I say, this is where you talk about that flag that you've planted in the ground and say, hey, this is my lane. This is why this matters to me. And this is why it's important. A lot of times this doesn't have to be about your offers or services. It's really to deal with your heart and like why this is important to you. The next piece is like all things you. And this is where you're showing your life, behind the scenes, but also showing your journey in this phase. Like, what mindset shifts did you have to make? What changes did you have to go through to be where you are now? Because people want to understand that journey. And then the next piece is what I call client experience. And what client experience does is, just it shares your testimonials, yes, it shares your offers, but also being able to let people know who your clients are. We have a thing that we use in our business, which is we're meant to work together. Here's why. And a lot of times when we put those posts out, they're like, oh, I didn't know that I was Carrie's client. And then they reach out and they sign up because now they're like, I am her client, because she literally blatantly said, these are the people that we work with. So with all five of these content pillars, what ends up happening is people come to your site over and over and over again, because they never know what they are going to expect. Because what you see 95, I would say, I'll give it better, like 80% of the time, is that people will choose one piece of content. So they'll be all resourceful or all strategic or all offers. But the thing about that, if it's always that, people only come when they need that information. So they're not coming over and over again, which we know that when it comes to visibility and pushing people from brand awareness to conversions, we have to have these touch points. But with the humanistic content strategy, we're hitting these touch points. They say about 14 touch points before somebody makes a conversion. We're able to hit those 14 touch points really if you do 2 posts a day in a week. But in other places, when they only do one piece of content, it takes months, because they're only coming when they need that information. They're not coming every day, or they're not coming because they're like, oh, I don't need that right now. I'm not ready for that. I'll come back later for that. But with the humanistic content strategy, they're coming because they're like, oh, I didn't know Carrie did that. Oh, that's super cool. Oh, that's smart. Oh man, I'm gonna use that for later. Like that's what happens. And that's why I say, like, when it comes to like visibility and putting yourself out there, it's all about it being intentional. One thing that as a big word for mine is be intentionality. And it's being able to look at your content, looking at your visibility, and ask yourself, what is the goals that I'm trying to create with it? If I know that I need brand awareness to create conversions, how can I make sure that my brand awareness is strategic enough to make sure that we're making the right decisions and having the right visibility, having the right content out there that's going to create those touch points, so then they can move back over to conversions.
This is definitely really interesting. And I love this holistic approach because, in the end, it's true. I feel like these clients want to know us much on a much deeper level than what many of us initially thought it's expected. It's not only related to the expertise, they need to have that connection. And usually that connection comes on different layers, exactly as you were saying. Now, I just want to clarify something. You were saying, I think, if, at the last pillar, you mentioned something about this calling these people clients, but they're not really your client, and then because they see, they will become your client. Can you explain that a bit more to us, and what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so a lot of times when you go on social media, you'll see people and they'll be like, hey, I have this offer. And a lot, or I'm working on this thing. But a lot of times people don't know if it's for them. A lot of times they were like, well, I like, because a lot of times they make assumptions. They were like, well, I saw her work with these type people. I saw them work with these type people. Maybe I'm not their person. So what we do is we have this content that we put out is we're meant to work together. Here's why, and we have different reasons and talks about the different pieces and understanding of our clients. So when they see it, they're like, "Oh, I am Carrie's customer. Let me reach out to her and get on a call." And then they'll sign up because they didn't know, because they made assumptions of, "Oh, I just saw this on social media, so I'm not her client yet. I have to wait to get there."
Mm, this makes sense now. Okay. Now you told us about this content framework. Is there any other framework that you have to help coaches make visibility easier?
Yeah, so the thing is, I call it the visibility flywheel. And with the visibility flywheel is being able to really focus on those four pillars of visibility, which is online presence, strategic partners, speaking, and then old school and new school PR, and being able to, what I say, stroke those spokes. So when you think about a bike, it's all about adding a layer on, and I say realistically, that would feel comfortable every quarter. So if you think about it, within a year, you should have all of your spokes of your visibility flywheel. So like you're churning content, you're having visibility, people understand you, they see you, you're doing stuff. So that first spoke that I always say you want to focus on, and a lot of times I focus on two at the same, these two at the same time, which is strategic partners and online presence. So when you're able to build your strategic partners, these are people that truly want to see you win and they want to support you. They have your audience, or they have audience collaborators in their community. So then you're like, okay, how can I get in front of these people? How can we share stages together? So now my message is now reaching out to their message. I have a friend and a client that literally has my clients that she'll be like, hey, Carrie, can we collab on, like, I can come and speak at your event and then I can post it with my people so they'll come because they'll be like, oh, Britta's going to be there. She's a strategic partner. She doesn't want anything from me, but she's truly a strategic partner. She's not a referral partner. Referral partners are a little different. Strategic partners literally, their goal is like, how can I help you? How can you help me? Because we're literally in this thing together. I would say having a good five, I would say 3 to 5 strategic partners is going to be really great. And then you looking at what they have going on, they looking at what you have going on, and then you literally kind of plan your launch or your launches around each other. So you're like, okay, you're launching in February. All right, I'll probably launch in March. So like, I can help you in February, you can help me in March, things like that. You want to have that because strategic partners are going to be really, really powerful if you're doing any type of like small events or things like that. If they have Facebook groups, because you're able to tap into new audiences. And then the next one is going to be, of course, online presence. That's going to be understanding where your people are hanging out and understanding how to use the platform specifically. Because a lot of times what I see is people don't understand the platforms and then they'll create content and it doesn't work. So with Facebook, long form posts are going to work a lot better than videos, because in Facebook they really want to they like stories, they like understanding pieces. So you having those long form posts are going to be a lot stronger. So Facebook and LinkedIn are that way. TikTok, of course, is short form video. Instagram is short form video and stories. So leveraging short form videos and stories, anything like you can do carousels, but the thing about carousels that you'll see is they don't do as well anymore, because with Instagram they kind of have set up the algorithm that is always about tapping into other people's audiences, tapping out. But with posts and reels and posts and carousels and things like that, that's only for your audience because hashtags don't work as much as they used to. So it's like it has to make sure it hits that first round of influence to be able to go out. And when it comes to carousels, it doesn't really work that way because it's only with the people that are in your audience that will see it if you don't use any other type of like meta tags or things like that.
This is super interesting. No, I was taking notes for myself because this was a super interesting tip that you just shared now about the external audience. Let's put it like this. Okay, can we go continue with the, I think you called it the flying wheel? The
Yeah,
flywheel?
the visibility flywheel.
The visibility flywheel. So we talked about strategic partners, and you recommended we usually get 3 or 5 of these people. And just to clarify, how would some of these partnerships look like? You mentioned events, but can you be more specific? What can we do with these people? Just maybe share posts from each other, literally organize a summit or webinar together. What can we do with these partners?
Yeah, so you want to look at it as what is going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. So a lot of times what I like to do is I like to do workshops, special trainings, summits, things like that, because yeah, we can share each other's posts, but that's not always going to be as strong. We want to be able to corral our communities in a place where they can be able to hear what our strategic partner is saying, and vice versa.
Okay, so ideally events where we can actually speak to the audience. Um,
Exactly.
and when you mentioned online presence, you were saying make sure not only that you create content, but you understand the platform first and create content that works for that platform.
Yeah.
Anything else that we need to know in terms of online presence and visibility?
Yeah, so when it comes to the platforms, it's also understanding how the platforms behave. So with TikTok, that platform is going to be more about, I want to understand your expertise. I want to understand how I won't end up in your shoes. Show me the shortcuts. So being able to share like any of your mistakes, any of the things that you might have like you should have, that you wish you would have known, any like, and then you just talking about your expertise is going to do really amazing on TikTok. For Instagram, the before and afters, the trends, things like that are going to do a lot better there because that's what they're looking for. That's why if you notice, if you go on Reels, you'll see a lot of the same things over and over again because trends work better on Instagram than they actually do on TikTok because TikTok for business is going to be more of expertise. Show me, give me the shortcuts. Of course, in the younger scene, the trends do well because those are the trends that get moved over to Instagram. But a lot of times in the business world, it looks like being able to kind of share that expertise and sharing kind of those like shortcuts are doing really well. We had a client that literally posted, it was his fourth post he did over I think it was like 500,000 views off his fourth post. So he was like, yeah, he was like, Carrie, well, I know you told me to do it. I didn't expect it to be this quick. I'm like,
Any lessons that we can learn from what he did right? What did
yeah,
he do?
yeah, literally. And his was like super easy. Literally, what he did was, because actually he's out of town. So somebody on his team pulled one of his old videos when they were in a live event and they cut it up, added some captions, and then sent it and posted it.
What can I say? I've been doing this for my with my podcast episodes. Still not any video with 500,000, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm gonna tell you this. Awesome. Well, yeah, this is definitely repurposing
Trending
content.
sounds, yeah, trending sounds work great too. So as you're using you're cutting up your stuff, add some trending sounds to it underneath, lower the volume, and sometimes it'll help as well.
Quick question: if you put the volume to zero of that trending sound, will it make a difference? Will it still
Yeah,
count?
it'll still count.
Okay, okay, awesome. That's a question I know I've been asked multiple times, and I wanted to put it out there for anyone who's on TikTok or Instagram. Okay, so continuing this framework, anything else we need to know about the flying
Yeah,
wheel?
the visibility flywheel. Think about like a bike. It just spins. So the next piece, of course, is speaking. And when it comes to speaking, a lot of times I say that you want to be ready for it. A lot of times, like I've seen our clients, they'll come and they'll be like, Carrie, I'm about to speak at a podcast. And I'm like, okay, where are you sending them to? And they're like, my Instagram. I'm like, no. I was where are you sending, like, what is your place that you're going to send them to that's going to have a strong CTAs that's going to really be able to bring them into your world. And a lot of times they don't think about that piece because they need to be able to be practicing their content in online presence strategic partners to be able to start crafting these CTAs and these conversations. So when they go where I call starting to share stages, you want to they want to have that strong CTA. They want to have that place where they can know that I'm not just talking and having a podcast conversation. That's amazing, but I want to make sure that it actually still helps me in my business as well and increases my visibility. So having strong CTAs and understanding what I call core entry points. So what core entry points are, they're not lead magnets. They're going to be things that can lead people directly to a sale very quickly. And it's showing your frameworks and your thought processes very quickly. So for us, we have a video series called Adding the Human Back into the Brand. That piece lays the foundation of how we think and how we work. When people watch that video series, it will lead them into our world quicker because they have an understanding of what we do and why we do it.
Got it. And just to make it clear, I forgot my thread of thought. Give me a sec. It's okay. We have post production, so we can cut this part out. I had such a good question and it just disappeared. Okay. Let me think. Okay, so we were talking about speaking and how they can be prepared. I have my question.
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, so now just to be clear, how would this call to actions look like? Or I know there is this idea that, a lead goes from cold to worm and you shouldn't just throw them right into the mouth of a tiger, for example. Is there any specific way we can take them slowly but steadily in the direction that we want? And what would some initial call to actions to someone maybe just listening to a podcast episode look like?
So I always like some type of short piece of content. I don't like PDFs. I kind of like what I call a video series. And the reason why I like a video series, especially the way that we do it, it lays a foundation of how we think. And that's going to be an important part because realistically, someone for us has spent 32 minutes talking to me, listening to me. So for them, they've already kind of been like, oh, she seems like she might be a cool person. So then they're going to be like, okay, well, she said that she has this video series. Let me check that out. So I want them to understand how we think, how we look at business, because that's going to be the way to bring them into our world. If they say, yes, this is how I like it, I like how they look at business, I like how they view the world, that's going to give them the catalyst to want to take a next step with us. But it gives them that foundation because we spent 30 minutes together already. So I don't want to send them to a PDF because that's not going to do anything. That's not going to grow and continue our relationship.
When do you want to send them to a PDF?
So I normally send people to PDFs, just based like passive through like social media and stuff.
Got it. Okay, anything else we need to know about speaking in media?
Yeah, and then of course with the old school, new school PR, again, same reason why we do that last is because we want to make sure that we have strong CTAs. You want to make sure that you also have the online presence outside of social media, that when people go look at your page, go look at your site, they're like, oh, they're legit. Because let's say you haven't done anything on social media for 6 months and you go to a podcast or you go or you do a PR event, and then they go look you up and they're like, who is this? They haven't posted anything in 6 months. I don't trust it. And then they swipe and they move on. But if we focus on the idea of online presence, strategic partners, then speaking, then PR, guess what? Now we have a flywheel that's just layering on top of each other. And now those pieces are actually performing and doing what we want them to do.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And if we are to be even more specific about new PR and old PR, how does that look like and what is something that coaches can do?
Yeah, so new school PR, of course, is going to be Facebook groups, leveraging Facebook groups, going in there, having conversations, answering questions in a way that's not to sell, but to provide a strategic understanding of how you think and how you look at your business and look at like your coaching. The next one, of course, is going to be regular old school PR. So that's going to be looking at like what articles that you can be featured in. Is there places where there, I think, what is it, hire the press, like a lot of times they ask for like different quotes and things like that that you can be able to put out, and now you're in media, now you're in PR and things like that.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you, Carrie, that this has been enlightening just because the structure that you put behind it is very clear and it really helps us understand what we need to do in order to grow our visibility. So, just because we're getting close to the end of the episode, I wanted to go over the concepts that you tried to explain, and please correct me if I didn't get it right. So you mentioned the flywheel, the flying wheel, flywheel,
Yes, yes, the visibility flywheel.
the visibility flywheel, and this one is made of four pillars, which is online presence, strategic partners, speaking in media, and old PR and new PR. And then I
Yes,
know you also introduced us to the content framework, which focused on strategic, had five pillars: strategic content, resource for content, hard content, all things you content, and client experience
yeah,
content.
yes, the
I
humanistic content strategy.
I just wanted to put this out there in this shape and format so that we can all have a little summary in our heads of this awesome episode. Wanted to ask you anything else, any last tips or tricks that we should know when it comes to visibility?
Yeah, I would say the one thing that I tell everybody is give yourself grace. Like being visible, putting yourself out there is scary, but it's all about doing that, always moving forward, creating no momentum each and every day, and understanding that like as long as you're getting better, even if it's 1%, you're winning, you're making effort. And even sometimes if you need to take a pause and be like, hey, like give me a second, give me a couple let me have a day. Take the day. Give yourself grace in this space, because at the end of the day, you're a human, and I understand that one of the human needs is acceptance. So having that fear around visibility is okay. It's all about being able to still do it, even a little bit, even if you're a little scared.
Love that. Really love that. And it really allows me to take a fresh breath, after all of this input from today. Now, can people access any of your freebie or any of this frameworks that you mentioned? Are those accessible anywhere?
Yeah, so I have in the link that I gave you, I have our adding human back into the brand, which has a lot of the humanistic content strategy in it, and then we're building out the site for the humanistic content strategy video series. So we'll have that up probably in the next like couple weeks.
Well, by the time this will be out, I'm sure that Carrie's freebie will be out. So I encourage all of you listening to this to give it a go. I'm sure there will be lots of value. Now, Carrie, this has been amazing. This was really, really useful, and I cannot wait to really listen to this again, so I can take those notes for myself and really learn from what you shared with us today. Anything else our listeners should know? Where can they find you? Why should they reach out to you?
Yeah, you can find me online at on Instagram at Branding with Carrie underscore. You can find me at you can find all of our resources at houseofcarrie.com/links, and that will take you to all of our links. We have a quiz, we have all types of little things, but yeah, and then I'm always an open book. So if you have questions, please reach out to me. I love answering questions. It makes me excited.
Awesome. Well, what can I say? This has been really, really nice. I want to thank you so much, Carrie. I want to thank our listeners for sticking till the end. I'm sure you got lots of useful stuff today. And yeah, that's it for me. Any last words from you, Carrie?
No, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you all, and I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful day. And see you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be releasing every Wednesday, so make sure to
Subscribe
and rate us 5 stars where you're listening to this show to give others a chance to discover it too.